Hi everyone, I'm Angie. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my mid-year media wrap-up. You might notice that I'm not saying reading wrap-up and I'm saying media wrap-up because we're also going to talk about movies in this list because I also watch movies and I like the idea of including some of the movies that I watch on this channel as well. And also, I'm not going to lie, I did need to beef up this video a bit because you will see very soon that I haven't read many books this year. I say this every single time I'm on the internet right now, but I just moved across the country. Well, just like 4 months ago. That took up a lot of my time. It actually takes a lot of work to move across the country. I promise that I will stop mentioning this soon, but it is kind of like one of the biggest things that's ever happened in my life. So it's definitely impacted my reading, that's for sure. But you know what? That's okay. We'll start with books and then we'll go into the movies. I would include TV shows as well, but I don't really have a good way of tracking TV shows. Obviously with books, I have many different places I can track my books. I have different apps. I don't have a spreadsheet this year, but I could get one if I wanted it. And then with movies, of course, I have Letterboxd. I'm sure that there is like a really great way to track shows and I just don't know it. If you guys have any recommendations for like TV show tracking apps or websites or whatever, please let me know. And then maybe next time I can include the shows that I watch too. At the beginning of the year, I set my reading goal at 52 books because I love the idea of reading one book per week, like starting a book on Monday and then making sure to finish it by Sunday. That definitely did not happen the first half of this year. Between the months of January and June, I read 12 books, which is definitely the lowest maybe that it's been like since 2020, maybe like it's a pretty low number for me, but that's okay. Like I said, lots of big life changes. I have a lot of other things that I'm trying to do and have done, but of course those 12 books are still worth talking about. So let's go ahead and jump right in. The first two books that I read this year were Lola and the Millionaires Part 1 and 2. This is a duet and it's an Omegaverse. If you do not know what the Omegaverse is, I am not going to be the one to explain it to you. I'm so sorry. We just don't have time for that today. But if you're curious, I highly recommend you do your own research. There's lots of info about it on the internet, I promise you. So if you don't know what it is, I'm probably going to say a few words that don't really make any sense to you, but I think you can definitely use some context clues and you'll be able to figure it out. And if you do know what the Omegaverse is, congrats, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So Lola and the Millionaires follows our protagonist, Lola, as you may have guessed. Lola's a beta, but she has had alpha chasing tendencies in the past, and she kind of always wanted this like Omega awakening where she would just like wake up one day and she would turn into an Omega like a, really late into her life. I guess I'll do like a tiny translation for what that means. Basically, Omegas are very special and she wants to be special. She wants to be chosen. And with the way that the world is set up, you can't blame her. Unfortunately, though, those alpha chasing tendencies have led her to be in some pretty bad situations prior to the start of this book. She honestly went through some pretty dark things. And at the beginning of this book, we see her like dealing with her traumas, definitely not in the healthiest ways. You can tell that she's developed some really unhealthy coping mechanisms and she's like turned in on herself. The story, yes, it is like a very smutty white shoes book. It's like her and six men, but the story is really about her like growing and healing from her trauma. Yes, with the help of the millionaires with the pack, but also healing because of like her own strength and her own desire to overcome her trauma. These books are honestly just really, really well done. I have reread them probably 3 or 4 times since I read them the first time, like approximately once a year. And I will continue to do so because they are just done that well. I mentioned that it is a white shoes book, so it's Lola and then 6 men. And that is honestly pretty hard to pull off. If you do read white shoes, you might know that sometimes it feels like the relationships go really, really quickly. And I can confidently say that doesn't happen in this book. Of course, it helps that it is 2 books technically, but like Lola doesn't start to have relationships with some of the men until like the later half of the second half of the duet. I really applaud Catherine Moon on her patience because I feel like that would be hard. With these books, Catherine Moon has probably also written the best found family that I have ever read. It is so well done and so cozy and so comforting, and that's why I reread it. Like every year when I want something cozy and comforting, I'm going to read Lola and the Millionaires. And I'm also not the only one. If you're not in the Omegaverse space, probably don't know that these books are incredibly popular. Maybe some of the most popular Omegaverse, barring like Ali Hazelwood's Bride, if you would consider that to be an Omegaverse. I think it only makes sense that I started my year out with these books because it was just like, it was a new year. I needed some comfort. I needed some familiarity. And that's exactly what these books provide for me. And that's why I'm going to continue to reread them. Probably forever. The third book that I read this year was An Offer from a Gentleman by Julia Quinn. Yes, this is Benedict Bridgerton's book, and if you pay attention to pop culture, then you know the most recent season of Bridgerton came out this year in January, probably around the time that I read this book. But this was also a reread, so my first 3 books of the year were all rereads. I reread it not just because the show was coming out, but also because I really love this book. I know this book is not for everyone, just like the whole Bridgerton series, honestly, and there are other books in that series that are definitely not for me, but this is one that is for me. I know that probably a lot of people don't think that it's like romantic to be asked to be someone's mistress, but it's like the context, guys, okay? It's the context of their relationship. I don't know, Benedict does it for me, even in book form. Love that book. Love that book. I think I gave it 5 stars. But if you don't know what the Bridgerton series is, if you don't watch the show, that's obviously totally fine. This is a historical romance book. This is the third book. This is the 3rd book in the Bridgerton series. It's a series that follows all of the Bridgerton siblings. There are, I think, 7 of them, and they all go in alphabetical order. So we have Antony, Benedict, Colin, Daphne, Eloise, Francesca, Gregory, and Hyacinth. There's 8 of them. That's wild. Benedict is the 2nd son, so he's kind of useless in a way. Like, he doesn't have much that he has to do because he's not like inheriting the family name, but he's still expected to be responsible because he is the 2nd son of this like very influential family. During a social season, Benedict goes to his mother's masquerade ball and he falls head over heels for the Lady in Silver. Lady in Silver is a lady wearing a silver dress with a silver mask, and they just have this like magical connection. Benedict has no idea who she is. He kind of goes a little wild trying to find her. He goes all out trying to find this woman, and he never does. And he never finds her because it's actually Sophie Beckett, who is a maid. Like, she was not supposed to be at that party. And obviously, since she's not in the Bridgerton social circle, she is going to be pretty hard to find. But of course, they will find each other again. This is basically a beat-by-beat retelling of Cinderella. So if you're a fan of Cinderella or have been wanting to read a book like Cinderella, I definitely recommend this one. I know you're probably all thinking, Angie, what are your thoughts on the adaptation? Well, I'm a huge Bridgerton fan. I always have been, even before this season came out, but I knew that I would love this season, and I did. In the show, if you haven't seen it, it's not Sophie Beckett, it's Sophie Beck. Everyone did so well. Yarenha, incredible. Luke, the Luke that's plays Benedict and not the one that plays Colin, amazing. Francesca's actress, oh my god, I cannot wait for her season. Her acting is unreal. I love Bridgerton. It's probably one of my favorite shows ever. I read all of those books in January, so I actually stuck with like reading a book a week in January for the first 3 weeks, and then I very quickly abandoned it. And then I didn't read a single book in February, if you can believe it. Not one. Well, I was reading books the whole time. I'm always reading a book. It's if I'm finishing books. That's really what it is. I DNF so many books. I DNF too many that I don't even keep track. I could easily say I've DNF'd like at least 20 books this year. At least. But then when we get to March, I did actually finish one book. And it's very surprising, the book that I finished, because I don't know, it's not a book that I would normally pick up. And that book is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is a super popular romantasy book, and I'm not the biggest romantasy reader, honestly. Not really super into fantasy, not into romantasy. I like the idea of it, but in practice, I'm incredibly lazy. So I don't tend to want to do all the work of understanding the world building. Props to everyone that does, though. So in Quicksilver, we're following our main character, Cerys. I'll put the spelling on the screen right here. And she lives in this almost like dystopian world where there's like different districts and stuff. It's very Hunger Games in that way, but it's all in the city. It's not like a whole country. The city has different districts, and she lives in like the poorest district where there's very little access to fresh water, and it's just a very bad time all around. So obviously she has resorted to crime to support herself and to support her brother. She's doing what she has to do, you know? But that crime does lead her into getting in trouble, and that leads her to the palace, and she somehow ends up opening a portal, a gate to the Fae world. I don't even think she knew that Fae existed. I feel like they were like, fake. But out of the portal comes hot, sexy Kingfisher. And yes, that is his name. Really like this book, actually. Like, I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, but, well, okay, I wasn't like obsessed with it, but like, I was very intrigued. I finished it, which says a lot for me. I don't know. I had a great time. I think I ended up giving it like 4 stars, which is pretty high in my book. It did remind me a lot of From Blood and Ash. Personally, I think more so just like the kind of like creatures and characters that are introduced reminded me a lot of From Blood and Ash. But honestly, it's not like the worst thing for me. I had a great time reading the first book in From Blood and Ash. It was a great time. What happens later in the series, I cannot speak to. I'm definitely planning on picking up the sequel at some point. I made a friend/acquaintance that I think is like currently reading Quicksilver, and I'm kind of waiting for her to finish to see if she'll want to do a buddy read. I don't know if she will. If she doesn't, then I will probably just pick up the book on my own at some point. Yeah, I'm generally invested. I'll definitely have to like find a recap somewhere though, because I don't remember everything. For the next 3 books, we're kind of going to do a little bit of time skipping just so I can like easily tell you what these books are about. 2 I read in April, One I read in May, but they're all part of the same series, so it's just gonna be easier if I tell you about them all at the same time. Those books are the first 3 books in the Vancouver Storm series by Stephanie Archer. So that is respectively Behind the Net, The Fake Out, and The Wingman. If I had to rank them in order, I would probably say I liked The Fake Out, The Wingman, and then Behind the Net. But we'll talk about them in series order. So Behind the Net is the first book of the series. We're following Pippa and Jamie. Jamie is a hockey player. He plays hockey. I have notes here for like all of it. I don't know if you can see, but like for all of the men, every single one, I just have an arrow pointing them that says hockey. That's kind of all you need to know about the guys. Yeah, so Jamie's a hockey player. Pippa actually becomes his personal assistant. She's always wanted to pursue music, but her parents are kind of like, hey, you need to get like a real job. And she listens because she's like 21. Maybe she's like 23, actually. I think she did graduate from college, maybe? Possibly. I don't know. Pippa becomes his personal assistant, and Jamie was like very resistant to actually getting a personal assistant in the first place because he's kind of very uptight. He likes to like do everything himself. He's kind of boring, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. For some reason, becoming his personal assistant means that she's going to live with him. So almost immediately at the start of this book, these 2 people are living together. Another thing to mention is that they did already know each other prior to this. They went to high school together. I think they each had their respective crushes on each other. Yeah, like I said, not my favorite book. Definitely not my favorite book. Definitely not ever, but not even of this series. I kind of found it to be a little boring and not very special, but I did continue to read it. The next book I read was The Fake Out, which is the next book in the series. So something about this book made me want to continue the series. So the next book is The Fake Out. Here we're following Hazel and Rory. Why is that so hard to say? Rory. Like, I feel like I have no problem saying Rory Gilmore, but just saying Rory on its own is pretty hard. He's the hockey player. Hazel, she's actually a physical therapist for the team, but her real goal in life is she wants to open an inclusive workout space. And she actually previously dated a hockey player and had a terrible, terrible time dating him, and that has caused her to call off all hockey players forever. Things get a little complicated when her hockey ex-boyfriend gets transferred to the team that she works for, kind of as a way to get back at him and to distract him and just to annoy him. She starts to fake date our hockey player, Rory, who also was just recently traded to the team as well. Another thing, I guess, to mention, the connection between the first and second books. Hazel and Pippa are sisters, and then Rory and Jamie used to be best friends, and then they had like a big falling out. The third book, which again I actually read in May, is called The Wingman. This follows Hayden, our hockey player, and Darcy. Darcy and Hayden, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my notes. Darcy and Hayden are like best friends. It was Hayden, Darcy, and then Darcy's like longtime boyfriend. They all met in college. They were kind of like a group of 3. Darcy's boyfriend sucks. He's just like boring. He doesn't expect a lot from Darcy. He doesn't do anything special for Darcy. It's just like a very stagnant relationship. But at the end of the last book, we see that he proposes to Darcy and she says yes. But in reality, she knows that that is like a terrible idea because they don't have a good relationship. So she very quickly calls off the engagement. She moves back to Vancouver, starts living with Hayden because they're best friends. And Hayden becomes her wingman, as you could guess from the title of this book. But obviously Hayden has always been in love with her, so I think you can kind of figure out where the story goes from there. Also, I guess I didn't mention, Darcy is like a math person. I think she's like an accountant or something at the start of this book, but her dream is to create hockey prediction models for the team or something like that. I don't know if you could guess. I mean, I showed you my notes and I have like one word really, really big here, so you might know what I'm about to say next about these books, is that they all follow a formula. And you also maybe could have seen that when I'm telling you like, oh, all the girls, they're doing this, but they really want to be doing this. And all the guys, they're just hockey players. Actually, that's not true. They're hockey players, but all of them for some reason are like, why don't I like playing hockey anymore? And then they like figure out something like, oh, maybe because I need to play differently or I need to do this. Yeah, these books are kind of all exactly the same. That is why I didn't read The Wingman immediately after reading The Fake Out, because when I read Behind the Net and then I read The Fake Out, I was like, wow, that was like reading the same book over and over again. And it is so incredibly jarring to me that Stephanie Archer is following this formula. It's so noticeable. It's bad. Their relationships develop the exact same way. I don't know how to say this while still being PG, but basically the first spicy scene is like the same in every single book. Like they go the same distance each time. Like first they go, like let's say they go here. Okay, and then the next time they're gonna go here. Okay, then they're gonna go here, and then they'll go all the way. But it was like the exact same way each time. And also, without giving anything away, epilogues identical epilogues. So yeah, those are the first 3 books in the Vancouver Storm series. I'm still planning on finishing the series. I want to finish it before the end of the year. I'm not gonna lie, I only have 2 books left, and I feel like I've heard that the 5th book is really good, and sometimes that's all I need to hear to like continue a lackluster series. It's like, well, you never know, the next one could be my favorite book in the world. And that's really possible. Okay, we're going to switch it up a little bit now. The next book is In My Dreams I Hold a Knife by Ashley Winstead. This is a thriller. I don't read too many thrillers because I'm not often thrilled by them. I always know that the author is trying to shock their reader, and because of that, I'm never shocked. You could throw in the craziest plot twist and be like, well, yeah, duh, they're going to do something crazy because that's what's going to shock everyone. And I definitely had that experience reading this book. Like, I had a great time. I listened to the whole thing and I had a great time listening to it, but I wasn't super thrilled. I think in the end, I gave this like a 3.75. So In My Dreams I Hold a Knife follows a group of college friends at their college reunion. And at college, they all lived in the same dorm room, and that's like a big setting in the book. And they're kind of depicted as being like the cool kids on campus. And I went to a public university, so I don't know if that's like a thing, but they were the cool kids. The present of this book is definitely in the future at the reunion, but we have a lot of flashbacks because one of the members of their friend group was murdered when they were like seniors in college, when they were about to graduate. So a lot of the time at the reunion is spent figuring out who killed this person because it's never actually revealed. They never know who killed her. But don't worry, we'll obviously find out before the end of the book. This was definitely a fun book, but like I said, I wasn't overly thrilled. Wasn't my favorite thriller, that's for sure. I've read one since that I like a lot more, but I read it this month, so you'll see it in the next wrap up. I really loved how morally gray our main character was, because even though we do kind of follow a little bit of everyone, we mostly follow one character, and she was so morally gray. I really liked her. Her ambitions were so superficial, and I like that. One thing I would say that I didn't like about the book is that I was kind of expecting it to have a bit more like dark academia vibes, and it just kind of didn't. It was very standard thriller to me. Book number 9 on this list is Big Fan by Alexandra Romanoff. This is an A31 story. I've mentioned A31 stories quite a few times, honestly, but if you haven't been here, A31 is a romance publisher. They publish these kind of bite-sized romance novellas, and I would say that they kind of are at the intersection of romance and literary fiction, or maybe it's more so like, in a way, they're more targeted towards literary fiction readers and romance readers, possibly. That's just how I view it. But Big Fan is a lot of fun. I think a lot of people would really, really like this book. Our main character, Maya, is a political consultant, and she's kind of had a little bit of some bad press recently because her husband very, very publicly cheated on her. And she does have like a little bit of a public-facing career, right? Because she is this political consultant to like some pretty big candidates. A couple things start to change. One, when she gets a new job and, she kind of works to repair her image that way. But she also gets an email from this man named Charlie. Now, Charlie, can't remember his last name right now, but Charlie was her favorite member from her favorite boy band growing up. She's about to have a relationship with her celebrity crush. The premise is very like One Direction fanfic, right? But honestly, the premise is so adult, and there's like tons of politics and scandal. It's honestly a very good time. If you're a fangirl, you will really like this book. My plan is to read all of the A31 stories, but I've only read 2, including Big Fan. So I've only read the first and second book that they've ever published, and I preferred Big Fan significantly more than the second one. So I recommend you check it out. It's also, like I said, bite-sized. Like, I think it's 150 pages. Book number 10 is Into the Blue by Emma Brody. I know that this book is super popular right now. I do have a vlog reading it if you'd like to check it out. But in Into the Blue, we follow AJ and Noah, who are very much so in like the improv, comedy, acting space. And that is like definitely how they meet and how a lot of their relationship is formed, like through improv and through acting and everything like that. This is a very long, slow burn romance. I think it spans, honestly, decades. Like, this is a very long story. It's also a fairly long book. And I did really like this book, and I talk about how I like it and stuff in the vlog and everything, but I didn't love this book like some people do. Some people really, really love it. I just liked it, I would say. But Emma Brody did do a really good job as like depicting these two people as soulmates. Like, the connection between them is undeniable. And it also has some of the best written smut / like intimate scenes that I've ever read, because they're hot, but they're also just so incredibly intimate and personal and like close. You can really just feel that connection between them. It's so well written. Yeah, I think this book is probably not for everyone, but the people that it's for, it's like really for you. Book number 11 is Again the Magic by Lisa Kleypas. This is like a fan favorite historical romance book and a fan favorite Lisa Kleypas, and I definitely get why. This book is very good. As you can probably guess from the title, it has to do with finding love again, finding the magic after a loss or a tragedy. At least that's how I view the story. We actually have 2 love stories in this book. We follow sisters Aline and Livia. This book is also a prequel to Lisa Kleypa's very popular Wallflower series that I haven't read yet, but their brother is like one of the love interests in one of the future books. I would definitely say that I preferred Aline's story over Livia's. Not that I necessarily had any problem with Livia's story. It's just that like Aline's story is very much so, I don't know, it's like poised to be the only story in the book, and I feel like Livia's is kind of thrown in there in a way. I just read the synopsis before making this video and it only talked about Aline, so I don't know, I feel like that kind of blindsided me a bit, but this book really is just like a beautiful story, again, of finding love again, of finding the magic again, but also really accepting someone for like everything that they are and all of their mistakes that they've ever made. And it's just like very well done. I definitely understand why this book is so popular. I still want to read so many more Lisa Kleypa's books. Her writing is very, very good, and this book really proved to me that I am right to think that. Randomly, I could see myself revisiting this book in a couple of years and like having a totally different experience, like, after I've forgotten everything. Because it's not that I didn't love this book now, but I could see myself being in a place where I like really love this book, if that makes sense. And then finally, the last book on this list is Writers and Lovers by Lily King. This was my favorite book in 2020, like #1 book that year. But I never recommend this book because this is a book that really sees me in a way. Like when I read this book, I was like, oh, this is like reading myself on paper, and I don't want to recommend it to someone because it's like inviting them to read my soul. Honestly, probably luckily, I didn't feel quite as close to it this time, which is a good thing, I think, in this case, because last time I was like sobbing and just, I was a mess. This time I was able to just like read it and be like, oh, I still really like this book, but it's not like doing something to me. Like I can continue on with my life after reading this book. In Writers and Lovers, we follow Casey Peabody. Casey is a writer, but she's really struggling to write because her mother passed away. It's messed her up, as you can probably guess. So it's about her kind of overcoming her grief or really like working with it, and also about her dedication to the writing craft and like a dedication to living a creative life, because so many of her friends in art school and throughout college and stuff, all of them have moved away and, become like real estate agents or lawyers. They don't care about making art. But Casey is like very much like, no, I want to keep writing. I want to keep making art. There's very little plot in this book. It's a lot of character development. It's very mundane in a way. Like Casey is not doing a lot sometimes. Sometimes she's just going to work and there's like some drama at work, but if you're expecting something that is like super full of action, don't pick up this book because that's not what you're going to get. I should have a vlog out for this at some point. When? Soon. I think actually it should be pretty soon. I just need to read Heart the Lover, which is like the sequel to this book. And I don't know. I should do that pretty soon. I'm recording this during summer weed, so that is my current priority. But yeah, I should have a vlog out for that at some point. Okay, those are all the books I read, but let's go ahead and get into the movies. So I think my plan for the movies is I'm just going to list them out. All the movies that I've watched this year, except for my top 5. My top 5 I will reserve for the end, and I will talk maybe a little bit more about them, but I'm really just going to tell you my top 5 favorite movies this year in no particular order. But let's go ahead and go through all of the movies that I've seen this year. I did just realize I'm going to have to include the posters for every single movie, so you're welcome. The first movie that I watched this year was the 1997 adaptation of Cinderella with Brandy. Then I watched Evil Influencer, the Jodie Hildebrandt story, People We Meet on Vacation, Get Out, Drag Me to Hell, Marcelo Hernandez, American Boy, Bride Wars, Secret Mall Apartment, Hard Eyes, Hitman, Zootopia, Valentine's Day, Wedding Season, Jurassic World Rebirth, License to Wed, Halloween, When Harry Met Sally, The Devil Wears Prada, Leap Year, Blast from the Past, While You Were Sleeping, Palm Springs, The Martian, Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, Breaking Dawn Part 1 and Breaking Dawn Part 2, The Drama, Blair Witch, Joyride, Gremlins, Gremlins 2, The New Batch, The Devil Wears Prada 2, Clown in a Cornfield, The Dark and the Wicked, Backrooms, and Office Romance. I think I missed a couple in there. I think I also saw Zootopia too. I know. It's very important that I include that. I'll go ahead and tell you my top 5 movies this year. These are going to be in no particular order, just my top 5 favorite movies that I've seen so far. So first we have Obsession, of course. Everyone is obsessed with Obsession, and I totally get it. I've seen this movie twice, once in theaters and then once like as soon as it came out on video on demand. I really, really enjoyed this movie. I am definitely like a horror fan, and I thought that this was very well done. I think the messaging, I guess, could be construed as being heavy-handed, but I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing every time. Really liked it. Love Indy Navarette. She's so cool. Yeah, fantastic movie. Next, I have Project Hail Mary. I was blown away when I watched this movie, like genuinely blown away. I had never read the book. We were just going to go see it because I was like, oh, I want to see it. I've heard like some people talk about it. I generally enjoy Ryan Gosling's performances, and I was, again, like blown away. I can't explain it any other way. This movie is so good. I would say that if I probably had to have a top movie, it might be this one. Like it is really, really well done. I still need to read the book because I think I'd probably like the book just as much because I like the story, but I don't know. The movie's so good. I feel like it's gonna be hard to live up to that. Next is an older movie. Well, older as in like, I think it came out like more than 5 years ago, but it was my first time seeing it, and it's Midsommar. I don't know why it took me so long to see this movie because it was so good. I think I watched it in like January, which is obviously not midsummer time, but I loved it. Man, it's a good one. Florence Pugh, she does her most. I don't have much to say about Midsommar other than it was very good. I like that it's not a super dark horror movie, if that makes sense. Like it's obviously always super bright because it's summer in Sweden, but it's like so strange and like there's so many moments where you just like can't look away. I like when horror movies do something a little bit different, and this one definitely does. The fourth movie I have on this list is a comedy. It's Bottoms, which came out I think like in 2024. Again, also my first time seeing this movie. I want to rewatch this movie so badly. This movie is so funny. It is hilarious. This is like my exact kind of humor. Nicholas Galatzin's performance in this, unreal. Like so funny. Probably like the funniest character I've ever encountered. I could watch him in that movie over and over again because it's just so over the top and so ridiculous. Of course, Rachel Sennett, love her. Io, love her. Havana Rosalie, probably like the most beautiful woman ever. Incredible. And then the fifth movie that I'll go ahead and talk about is Frances Ha. It was, again, my first time seeing this. I actually saw it in theaters, a local movie theater. They like to show like, you know, movies that aren't screening anymore, and they screened this one and we went to go see it. I think we can all kind of relate to Frances a little bit, at least I feel like I can, where it's kind of like, you know, yeah, I'm floundering, I'm not really doing anything, and yeah, maybe my friends are all being super successful and being super rich, and maybe I'm not, and you know, that's okay. Yeah, very good. Another movie that I would like to rewatch, but I still don't really understand why it has to be in black and white. Maybe I'm just like not enough of a cinephile to like put one and one together, but I don't know. I don't think it needed to be in black and white. But that's everything I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Talked about the books I read, talked about some movies. Let me know if you liked me talking about some movies. If you want me to go in depth with movies, I can definitely do that. I only talked about the 5, obviously, but next time I can do my top 10. At the end of the year, I'd love to do like every movie that I watch this year and really go into it. And you know what? Maybe I will. Even if you're like, I don't care. Maybe I still will because this is my channel and I can do whatever I want. Thank you so much for watching. I'm excited to see what the second half of 2026 holds. I should be less busy. That's for sure. Like I should just be more busy living my life and less busy with a bunch of moving logistics because that takes up a lot of time. And also like emotionally, it was a lot. And I've never done this before, but if you've made it this far in the video, let me know what your favorite book that you've read this year is, because I would love to know, and maybe I'll pick it up in the next 6 months. But thanks for watching. I will talk to you guys a little bit later. Bye.